traditional stewards of this land. It is long overdue to recognize Native American abilities to support and care for our California landscapes going back millennia. Here at Bay Farm School, we are thankful for the abundant green space that we have. There are well-known benefits that nature has on human beings, especially children. As this garden evolves behind us, we can expect it to become a refuge. There are many plants that will grow up to 15 feet, wrapping this space in a big green hug. On the other hand, it is a space for observation and the principles of science. Flowing from a science space, phenology is the study of life through the seasons. Here, we are allowing plants to fulfill their seasonal cycle. This allows us a chance to re-educate our eye to appreciate the beauty of California native plants in all stages of growth. There are really unrealistic expectations for landscapes to be always green and always in flower. And you miss the time when a goldfinch strips a Clarkia seed pod, or the fat seed leaves of a lupin that are sprouting at the first rain. The moth larva eating the ripening seed head of the gum plant, and of course, everything in bloom. That means recognizing and celebrating plants in every phase of their life cycle. New growth, flowering, drying out, setting seed, and going dormant. This is phenology. It is very important because there are milkweed plants here. And butterflies really prefer places where they know their caterpillars can crawl somewhere to hide to make their chrysalis. If we remove the dry stems, we might be killing, accidentally of course, many future monarchs. So the dryness must remain. We are in the beginning stages of transforming this garden. It was kind of a horrid mess of neglect of COVID. And so we are cultivating native plants of the East Bay and coastal California, and we are mindfully and realistically creating a space that can survive. In an era of unstable water supplies, this garden is an experiment in minimal water use. Once the plants are established, they should only require the winter rains, since they evolved under those conditions. California native plants also have employed a bunch of different strategies for surviving the dry season, which students and volunteers and parents can learn about as we go deeper. This garden is a source of biodiversity. There is already over 50 species of California native plants after just the first year. These plants attract pollinators and birds that they have evolved with. There's also a vast undiscovered web of life that exists here, supporting beetles, flies, moths, and many others. To be sure, each plant is not an ornament whose sole purpose is to entertain the human eye. These plants are ecological entities, a necessity for the animals that depend on them. This is why we are calling it a habitat garden. A habitat that nurtures both human, plant, animal, insect, bird, and so on. And to make this become a reality, we have monthly work parties year-round. It's the first Saturday of the month at 9:30. If any of you want to join us. My background in this field goes back 25 years, but I have not spent any time in a classroom learning botany or biology or any of that. Most of my learning has happened at community-based work parties like these, learning from open-hearted and experienced naturalists. I've also been on many nature hikes, and I work in various restoration projects, and I've spent hours observing plants, collecting seeds, and just trying to figure out how things grow. Here in this garden, teachers, parents, students, and members of the community are learning how to care for a native landscape. This is offering people a chance to work outside gardening with a deeper purpose and not just solely doing yard work as a chore. At this time, we're successfully engaging the community at large to participate in our project. At our last work party, we had over 20 people, and we know that because we counted the forms that they have to sign if they want to be here.
Did you hear that, Superintendent Scuderi?
Yeah, so seriously, but the friendships that are nurtured here may be the most important outcome of all. I know how I cherish my intergenerational friendships from the past decade or so from my various gardening groups. So when volunteers are here, they do trash cleanup, we do weeding, we do cleaning and placing cardboard. So one of the strategies we did to get rid of the weeds is we used sheet mulching technique. But a lot of the cardboard you find is covered with staples and tape and stickers and all of that. So it takes time to peel all that stuff away. We are working on painting signs. I think we painted about 15 signs at our last work party. Spreading mulch, planting, and watering. Here are 3 examples of how we plan to connect this garden to student learning. Like I said, phenology is the study of plants and animals over the seasons. There is a plan in the work for 5th grade students to participate in a decade-long citizen science study of the plants that inhabit this space. Each small group or individual will be observing a specific plant throughout the year. During garden class with Mr. Michael, they will observe and take notes and take pictures of their plant. Then in the media center with our librarian, Miss Cheney, they will create a Google Doc for each plant with pictures and text that follow the seasons. And there's a possibility to have links there to other botany websites like Calscape and the Jepson Herbarium Online. All of these docs will be linked on a larger Google site. And I'm hoping that there can be QR codes, like I have a QR code over there on the far end of the garden. You can scan it and see a little Google Slides presentation I made for this garden, which is pretty out of date, but it's there. Has good information, but there'll be QR codes linking each plant to the doc that the students are working on. And then it's my hope that the docs that are made this year can be passed on to next year's 5th graders, and then those kids can add to it. And students can track when seeds sprout. Students can track when plants flower. Students can track when seeds set. And they can also see how long it takes for some of our baby plants, who are only about 2 inches right now, to make their first flower. It might be 5 years, it might be 7 years, it might be longer. But most importantly, students will be creating their own knowledge. Secondly, since I'm a 1st grade teacher, I want to tell you about an investigation that the 1st graders do. Students love challenging activities in picking leaves and matching them. Students are fascinated by the textures, shapes, and prickliness and aromas of leaves. After spending time in the garden, where students collect 3 or 4 leaves, we sit in a circle back in the classroom and make a little plant quilt, where we take turns placing 1 leaf on a piece of paper. And then everybody else that's sitting in that circle has to look at their leaves and say, does this match? And if it does, they place it on that same piece of paper. And then this allows for a discourse, debating whether each leaf actually matches depending on the attributes. At the end, students can visually see the vast diversity of plants on our campus. Also part of the 1st grade curriculum, since that's what I do, is building a terrarium. Once that mini habitat is established and the plants are growing and we got rocks and wood chips and all sorts of stuff they put in there, the final step is to go on a quest to find animals that will call it home. Kids love the task. and need a place where animals like slugs, roly-polies, ladybugs, beetles, earwigs, spiders can be abundant. There is a certain ecstatic joy in finding a creature. And creatures are hard to find. I challenge you to find a roly-poly right now. They are hiding, right? There's predators around. And so it's a super challenge. Some of my favorite moments is seeing the students all squatting down in a circle, sharing a discovery. In conclusion, I'm sure that you're all familiar with the butterfly effect, where small actions can have enormous results in the future. We want to be a conduit for the larger community to use as a resource for sharing gardening knowledge, plants, propagation techniques. We want to be a source of hope. I want to end with the fact that there is a huge power in a small garden. Many years ago, when I was working in a community garden with these same species, it attracted the attention of a UC Berkeley entomologist named Dr. Gordon Franke. Dr. Gordon Franke spent hours observing the native bees in that space. When his research was complete and it was published in the CNPS journal for Mancha, he reported over 70 different species of native bees on that site, and he credited it to the native plants that were present. Thank you for your time.